Right. So, welcome everyone to episode 4 of The Breakdown. I am joined this time by PtitDrogo.
Hello.
Frederic.
Even French can't pronounce it, so...
Can you try? Can you do it?
Fredier.
Frederic. Close enough. Yeah. And we're gonna go over PVC. So, why don't you set the stage here? What's this about?
This was pretty much the Wardy Summer Championship, but like if I win this match, I would qualify for the main tournament thing. So on its own, it's like a tournament for like 250 euro for first place, which as far as online tournament go, it's pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
This was the semi-final, so if I win this one, I advance to the main one that has like a bunch more money.
Cool, and like we just mentioned before this, it's an Iron Chain showdown, so... Yeah. Both you and Nerchio playing for Iron Chain. Yeah. Do you guys practice against each other or anything like that?
No, not really.
Yeah, I feel like Nerchio's never been...
Yeah, Nerchio is really like, he's a believer into what he does.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if he wants to practice with who he wants and that kind of thing.
Got you.
But yeah, this match I was down 0-1, so... You
were down 0-1 going into this?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so what can you tell us about this map going into this? Is there anything that you like or dislike?
Honestly, this map, usually Parasite is banned. Mm-hmm. So this map is usually my first pick in best of 3 or best of 5. It's usually the map left that I will pick first. I didn't get first pick. First game I played on Fracture against Nerchio, so this was my first pick because it's fairly nice. It's not, it's not a gigantic map where I can do whatever I want, but as far as normal macro map go, this is one of the better one. I mean, I would say it's pretty 50-50, even though I like it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Sort of just, we did an episode with Sort of, and he actually was playing on this same map and in CVP. He was saying that he likes the Roach Hydra drops and whatnot on this map to threaten the fourth and the main at the same time.
Yeah, like this map on Acid Plants, but I think this map is a bit worse than Acid Plants when it comes to drops. Like Acid Plants is the most filthy one.
Mm-hmm.
When like if you keep the drop alive, you can literally never take a fourth, and it's really, really annoying.
Yeah.
This map is not quite as much like that because there's not that much freedom for the Zerg to move to be into position.
Chokes, good chokes heading into the fourth, and pretty fucking choke into the third.
But like even then, like when they go, can you see the ping or not?
No.
Yeah. Like when they have to get into position to go into the Overlord next to the fourth, sometime really often you can like push into the Overlord. Like you can intercept the Overlords really easily on Lost and Found. Like I even think I will build a pylon to spot for eventual drop. On an Acid Plant, it's a lot harder to do that.
Cool.
So it's something I don't like about Acid Plants. But yeah, we can just go into the game, I think.
Sounds good.
I don't have more to say about this map.
Perfect. And did you have a plan going into this game?
Yeah, as a matter, like I liked how the first game went on, but like then I controlled my army very bad. So I was figuring out if I could get into the same position and play a very normal game, I would have a good chance to win. So I didn't do anything different compared to the first game. I mean, as far as my plan was.
Okay, and that is Archon drop, you were saying?
Yes, I am a firm believer in Archon drop. Ask any Protoss; they have a love-hate relationship. But no, like, it's kind of a silly thing to say, but I'm not gonna say I'm the best PvZ in Europe. But as far as Archon drop is concerned, I think I'm the one that does it the best, or I'm the guy who practices it the most.
Makes sense. I think Archon drop is one of those openers that can be very consistent for Protoss players compared to other openers. It is consistent.
Like maybe it's not the best in the best of 5 because like it makes the game very easy for the Zerg. But as far as consistency goes, I think it's the best one.
Mm-hmm. And that is because you're relying more on your micro than you are on the element of surprise or anything like that, right?
Yeah, like I like everybody knows I go Archon drop, but I still win a lot of game in PvZ at the moment.
Yeah. It's kind of like I like to see Archon drop as kind of like a Terran-y style Protoss opener.
And in general, that's how I always like to play. Like, if you can give me one build I can do every game, I'm very happy Protoss.
Okay. So Yeah, I would say that Protoss is like the race that relies the most on the mind games and the coin flips to an extent, right? Like just being a little bit of a snake, denying information.
Something I never really liked, to be honest.
Have you considered switching to Terran?
No, but like you know, like if I had to pick a race, if I had to go back, and I'm not sure if I would pick Protoss, because like I mean, to be fair, you could play like the same builds over and over before. Now it's now you really need to rely on surprise a lot more. Like before, it was kind of like an added benefit. Like you could also surprise your opponent on top of having strong build orders. Now sometimes it feels like surprise is all you have. But that's just me whining. Like it's not necessarily true.
No, I think it's. I mean, I think it's a thing of the design of the race, right? It has it relies heavily on its tech. Like it's really good at teching. So, tech means just that, right? Like if you go for a tech that's unexpected, then you can do a ton of damage. But if your opponent knows everything that you're doing, if you have that potential, then you should. It comes with.
Yeah, maybe. When it comes to design, I don't think about it too much, to be honest. I just try to do what's good.
Got you. Okay, so we're opening with Adept first, and then another Adept.
Okay. So now, like, there's a first thing, if you want to be educational. Why now there's something I'm always worried at this stage of the game is the strategy where we just make a ton of Zerglings, transfers like drones to the natural to make it look like it's macro, and then they actually run by with a lot of Zerglings. It's always what I have in mind, and if you move out with the second Adept and they're doing that, you're pretty much always going to lose the game.
Okay.
So the main question here is that, like, why am I doing this? So it's half, like, typically, if I play someone that I think can do that, I'm going to poke with my first Adept, and I'm going to Shane in the main, and I'm going to look for two things, like, if he's still mining gas, or does he have, like, perfect saturation in the main?
Cool.
Because, like, unless you're absolutely crazy, if you do an all-in, you're going to transfer some extra drone to the natural to make it look like it's not an all-in. At the very least, good players do that. So checking the main is actually more important than natural at first. Then the second check the natural. Here I don't do it because I killed 2 Zergling in the middle of the map. I got a bit lucky. So I figure that since he only has 2 Zergling, I will be able to kill a drone most likely. And the reason why I'm not worried about an all-in is because it's nurture. I've never seen him do like the particular all-in. Like
so if it was Bly, you would be shading into the main instead of trying to keep your Adept alive.
Actually, like Bly is a bit different. Like I always try to kill a drone against Bly because he just run by like 4 Zerglings early game, then doesn't do anything. But if I was playing N10, for example, or True, I would never do this.
Okay.
But here, like it's mainly because I know it's nurture, so I know I can just do this, and I think I'm gonna get a drone this game.
Yeah. So get a drone and get out. Second Adept is coming, and I'm guessing you're gonna look to poke back again.
Yeah.
Behind this, you're going for a Phoenix Stargate. I talked about this with Harstem and
I'm actually prepared a lot for the question of why I'm getting a Phoenix first compared to an Oracle.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, it's actually kind of long. Like you guys can use the notepad.
That's great.
The main reason, which is actually not relevant for me personally as a player, but it's very true, is that if you go Oracle first, you cannot hide what you're doing behind the Stargates because typically it's either Adept or dual Stargate or back on drops. Typically, you get the Phoenix first to hide that. But I don't. I make a robo in the wall to have the most efficient Archon drop possible, so my options are very limited. But here's the thing. This is, if I get an Oracle first, people say, oh, but the Zerg needs to get a Spore faster. It's true. Zerg will have to get a Spore faster against an Oracle first. But typically, when I'm going Oracle first, the only thing I will do, sometimes I go Oracle first, but I go 2 Oracle. And when I go for 1 Oracle, I don't even poke with one of the bases, because at the level, I think the top Zergs against the first Oracle shouldn't take any damage. It's really easy to know which one it is. So when I play 2 Oracle, I always go into the third base, I kill the 2 Lava, then I come back with 2 Oracle. And then when I have 2 Oracle, then it's hard for the Zerg, because they don't have a Spore yet at the third. So they need to bring a lot more queens. But if you bring 2 queens, I have 2 Oracle that I kill 2 queens. I win a lot of games like that.
Cool.
So they need to bring 3 queens or like not mine their third forever. And even if you bring a lot of queen, then one of the bases is only going to have 1 Spore. So I think Oracle first with 2 Oracle is very good. But what does happen when you go Oracle then Phoenix is that first you're killing the Overlord a bit late. Doesn't really matter, but still you're killing it late. It's always annoying. And also, if you go with the Oracle, and you use your Pulsar Beam to try to do damage early game, then you will not be able to use it when, you know, the Phoenix Oracle combo. If I use my Oracle when it's alone, then I won't be able to use it when the Phoenix arrive, because if I do, first, my Oracle maybe will have lost HP initially, because I tried to do damage against a well-prepared defense. But even if it didn't lose HP, if I use it twice, then when I come back, my Oracle has like 20 energy. So that means that if the Zerg made for Zerglings, I literally cannot take a third base.
Because there's the cost of activating it as well.
Yeah, it's something that when you go Archon Drop, you really need to keep in mind is your Oracle energy management. It's so important, not using your Oracle for nothing. Which is why pretty much in every single one of my game, I will make a Phoenix first, then an Oracle, and I will poke with that, because I think it's the most reliable way to get damage. And then I will almost never use my Oracle energy, like unless there's like a ton of Zerglings. Because if you don't have the Oracle energy, and they make like a slight amount of Zerglings, then like it's almost GG. You cannot take a third. You need to like do some crazy shit on 2 base. Like for me, it's so important to keep that Oracle energy, which is why I don't like Oracle first, because it's inefficient in that regard, like very, very inefficient.
And the Phoenix seems like a really welcome addition to the Archon Drop in itself, right? Like people have started like lifting off queens.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see it this game. Like like I'm gonna explain a bit, but yeah, the Phoenix is needed with the Archon Drop. You can't go Archon Drop for the Phoenix.
Cool. Because my follow-up question would have been like, what if you just go for a Stalker? But yeah, the Phoenix is really good with the Archons.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like I think with Archon Drop, you can totally go to Oracle with a Stalker. I think it's 100% viable. Everything is a bit later, but you have 2 Oracle. 2 Oracle are like they're like a big threat on their own. But I really like Oracle Phoenixes. The only way you would go for that, I think, is if you're scared of like Baneling Bust. So you want an Oracle with like a lot more energy initially. But if you're not scared of Baneling Bust, yeah.
Got you. Well thought out. And he has a bunch of links, so you're just gonna back away.
Yeah, like you can commit with the first 2 adepts sometime, but pretty much you need to have already like started the 3rd adept. If you society adepts and you only have 2, it's really awkward.
Yeah, because then you have to invest into other shit that will delay your Archon Drop for defense. Yeah.
Which is sometimes worth it, but I don't know. I don't do it often. So yeah, so now I killed the Overlord, and I actually don't do something I usually do. This is a mistake, by the way. You see the shift click of his Phoenix? It's to spot morphing banelings in case there's morphing banelings. Cool. A baneling burst can pretty much always happen at any point in time. There's the one that's really aggressive, but sometimes you're gonna make a couple of extra drones, then baneling burst. And pretty much the only way to really know is by spotting, with the Phoenixes. So here it was too late. Like my Phoenix did nothing for like 10 seconds because I was doing something else and I forgot about it. But this is why the Phoenix is doing this. And also, okay, you see when you press pause.
Yeah.
You see what I'm doing with the adepts here. Yep. I think it's really important, and I don't see I don't see people doing it often. Here it's completely useless because all of these links are back home. But really often the Zerg is gonna have spotter Zerglings and the spotter at the 3rd, spotter at several places to try to see the movement of the target units. When the Phoenix goes around, you actually can spot where the Zerglings are, and then you can do this shade back thing to try to kill them initially. It might seem like nothing, killing 1 or 2 Zerglings, but it's actually it can make you be able to take a 3rd. Like if you can kill 3 Zerglings for free, then suddenly all hope that the Zerg has of taking your 3rd is ever costing a lot more, or it's going to be impossible. So this is one of the few things you should always do. Whenever you can spare the APM, just shade back and try to look for Zerglings. It's a small thing that I think is pretty important.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so basically what you're saying is when you want to take a 3rd with the adepts, if you move out with 2 adepts and say they have 8 or 10 feet or 10 Zerglings, that they can kill those 2 adepts and delay or deny your 3rd, right? But if you do the shade back, then they can never kill these 2 adepts, and you get
even
a few
then,
for free.
A more scenario that actually happens quite a lot is that if you kill a few Zerglings, you don't have to use your Oracle. Just the threat of the Oracle is going to be enough to them to not commit. And if you don't have to use your Oracle, then maybe when there's more Zergling later, your Oracle is actually going to have more energy. Really, in PvZ, any small thing you can try.
And the Oracle is you're more concerned about the Oracle defensively than with your Archon Drop then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. To me, bringing the Oracle with the Archon Drop is extremely reckless play.
Okay.
To me, it's really not good. The Oracle should always be at home.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, Oracles aren't that great against Queens.
Yeah, against Queens, they're just gonna die. If I'm going
easily.
extremely aggressively, if I'm going for a 6 gate or an 8 gate, then I will bring the Oracle because I actually want to break the Zerg. but not with just one a normal Archon drop.
Cool.
Yeah. So here it's actually something pretty unconventional. Like some players are gonna try to mine the third, but it's really hard to mine the third this early without taking damage. The way like Lambo or a laser are very good at defending this. A laser, what he does is that he literally doesn't try to mine the third for quite a long time. But then when he transfers to the third, he has like 11 drones transferring to the third, which is, damage on its own.
Right.
And I think Lambo has like, and really often, sometimes what happens is that if you come in here and you see 3 queens, you can lift one, then still try to go from an angle. On this, there's a spore. Really often, there's no spore in the natural. Like this combo of Phoenix Oracle is gonna do damage like, I would say 66% of the time. Okay. And when they do, it's pretty much like, like indirect damage. But I think this is like much better than just going with one Oracle. So this is like something you're gonna do every game.
Okay, and we're gonna go for these 3 drones then with the Oracle here?
Yeah, like you're always gonna try to kill some drones. You can't really do anything else with the Oracle.
Good.
This is, True Drone is pretty standard, but the way I did it, I'm pretty happy. So like you can see like me trying to search for the drones that were like rallied to the third, but Nurture very smartly pulled them back in advance. Yeah. If I wasn't paying attention, it could have been one more drone, so it could have been quite nice.
Right, it's this guy that's pulling back right by the queen.
Yeah. Also, because like this is the thing, right? Because I like spent maybe 10 more seconds than I would normally on these 2 units, you can see that my third is pretty late. I should have already sent a probe and my adept to the third. So like right now, this is not like a perfect execution already. Like, I think our corner is pretty hard in that regard. Like there's a lot of moments in game where you can spend a bit too long. Yeah, you can fuck up and spend too long on something that's not important. But the nice news for me is that Nature is not trying like to make Zerglings or anything, which should be really important because like the counter to many Zerglings is to take the third fast enough. That's literally it. Because once you take it fast enough, you can have the setup with the Nexus and 2 pylon, and then you can tuck your 2 adepts in between, and then you're good to go. Gotcha. Also, I'm gonna point out something. Can you pause real quick?
Yes, of course.
This is also something where I made a little bit of a mistake, but it's not a huge mistake, but it could have been. Typically, right after you go for the poke, something that's very, very, very important is to take the Phoenix and do a shift click between the main and natural on what you want to see if there's a layer already done. If the layer is already done, then you want to know if it's a Nidus. So you need like to really poke around to know if it's a Nidus or Hydralisk very fast. Because if it's a Nidus, you're going to make an Immortal. And if it's Hydralisk, then you don't want to go Archon drop, in my opinion. So here it's a scout that I forgot. Like I'm going to do it, but a bit later. Like too late if it was a Nidus, but in time if it was Hydralisk. But just like I didn't do it. Like usually it's right after you poke the Oracle. You need to scout with the Phoenix. It's really important.
Cool.
I forgot to do it, but it's okay.
It would be difficult to go for a Nidus with how much he had at his
deck. Yeah. Also, I forgot to say that. I also knew that it wasn't really going to be a Nidus because of the way he was donning up his third. Typically with a Nidus, it would be very difficult to do that, and at the same time, making a Nidus work. Yeah, I forgot to say that.
I mean, that's probably why you disregarded it as well.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But still, I still feel like you should still scout, because sometime you'll be surprised at what tricky Zergs can do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Here, this wall I think is the best. Sometimes I see Protoss making 1 pylon. I think this is a lot more reliable. Typically, it's bad against one thing, Baneling Burst to deny your third, but nobody does that.
Yeah, it looks pretty strong.
And it costs too much to deny your third.
And why is this better than the 1 pylon and tucking the adepts in between the Nexus and the pylon?
Just less Zerglings can hit your adept, but like this, like the 1 pylon actually, like is not like a perfect wall or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay. So now 2 things are very important here, I think. One, it's the ops right after the prism. This is actually something that Stats introduced in the final of GSL vs the World in against Serial, and I thought was really cool. One of the biggest weakness of Archon drop is pretty much Roach counterattack. Like it's one of the things that's really gonna make you struggle. And if you make the ops right after the War Prism is done, if you play a very small map on your own point with your War Prism, it's gonna delay your Archon by 5 seconds. But if the map is slightly bigger, and if you don't really care about the 5 seconds, then it's exactly as normal. And what happens is that right after you're done poking with the Archon, the Ops is immediately on top of the creep. And also, you get your first Immortal much, much, much faster than what people were doing before, where we get the Archon, then start an Ops. which was incredibly like inefficient in that way, and you would die to roaches all the time because you just didn't have enough immortals. So this is small, but this is super duper important. Right after this upside down, I was gonna make an immortal. Super important.
Cool. So to iterate, this you would consider a larger map, or
it's a medium map. If I was really on top of my shit, like a map where it would actually matter is Blue Shift, for example. Blue Shift is very short in the distance to Robo, to the main of the Zerg. So actually, if you make an ups, you wait like a few extra seconds to have the Archon, but it's completely worth it in my opinion.
Okay, so for people watching that may not understand, the reason you would delay it is because you wouldn't have the gas for both the Archons and the Observer, right? So if it's a longer map, the War Prism has to travel longer distance, and that's the time that you need to invest into that.
Yeah, but so, it's really small. Like it's so small that you should always make the ups before.
Yeah, I was thinking even if this was a medium or a smaller map, you could still travel further into.
Yeah, usually that's what happened. Like, see where I'm warping. Like when I'm warping my Archons, like sure, I could just like I had this argument once, so that's why I'm like this. But yeah, it's just better to make the ups.
And the ops is to clear the creep, right? So that the roach attack isn't us.
Yeah, it's to clear the creep and also to help spotting, because this ops is faster. Sometimes there were like some really weird roach speed attack build, and because this op is faster, you would see units moving across the map faster. It's just so good. Like ever since I started doing it, Archons are open for a build where I would just lose randomly to like something a lot more reliable. And also, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the build perfectly here, but now while you're doing the Archon drop, what you want to do is start an immortal. You don't even have to look at the immortal to make it. Then it's like a robo. Then you add 2 more gates while the microing is happening, typically, which is sometimes not possible. So everything is the 2 gates are often delayed for me. I think the 2 gates.
Okay, and so your vision game is pretty great here. With you're covering a lot of the paths with this initial attack and the observer that's gonna come out.
Yeah, and also it's also just one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
The Phoenix that's immediately on the War Prism is actually a mistake. Like there's a lot of things in this opening that are going to be a mistake, but you only get punished like one game, like every 20 games. The Phoenix typically should be in patrol in the middle of the map. Why? Because right now, and it happened one game in my life against Scarlet, and I was very upset. One time against Scarlet and one time against Lambo, where you need the Oracle to protect the Archon while they're morphing. And this game actually helped. Like, he had 3 Zerglings, but if you don't have the Oracle, then the 3 Zerglings actually do a lot of damage on the Archons. But you don't need the Phoenix immediately on the War Prism. You can still like spot in the middle, because there's a sweet fucking spot where they come in with a lot of Zerglings while your Oracle is across the map protecting the Archon. And by the time your Oracle comes back to the third, they're already doing a bunch of damage.
Cool.
So the Phoenix doesn't need to be there immediately, but it's really easy to get lazy because there's like a ton of these small details that you can get wrong with this opening because you rely so much on vision to counter attacks.
Definitely. So basically, the Phoenix would cover for the observer until it gets there.
Yeah, exactly.
And you would spot this kind of bullshit, and because the Phoenix is so fast, you still have time to run back once this is done, because the Phoenix serves no purpose with the Archons, right? Like, there's not going to be a queen or anything
the Phoenix can be in my base. It's going to be in time for the Archon drop. Like, it's such a fast unit.
Cool.
Yeah.
And if you saw something, then you pull back the Oracle, right?
Yeah, like even then, like right after my Archons are morphed, I'm just going to pull back the Oracle at home. It's really important.
Cool. Okay. So he's just their pimp.
Yeah. On here, like Nurture is one of these players that I would call very safe against Archon drop, because you always poke in first with the Phoenix, very important. You don't want your Prism to do unnecessary damage. And typically what happens is people sometimes like, okay, look at this drone count. It's 52 drones.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about what you think about that, but it's a very low drone count. So like this is a very safe Zerg right now. It's like, I think it's the only Zerg that already has Roaches at this point in the game. So typically what happens is that the Zerg has Roaches in production and like queens at the edge to try to deny the War Prism. But if you actually immediately lift a queen and initially the Phoenix tanks the first few shots, then you can really often drop on top of the queens. Sometimes they have spores, which is really annoying when they have spores. That's when you just cannot do anything and have to accept it. But yeah, typically if the Roaches were not here, I could lift them like the high energy queen and I could do damage. But here, I just know that if he has this many units, I don't need to do damage necessarily. So I can just go back and be happy with myself.
Cool. Yeah, perfect. And yeah, there's no way you drop into this. So are you going to go for wait for the observer and then clear creep or poke somewhere else?
No, like, yeah, I'm just going to try to deny the creep, like the edge of the creep immediately. Like I'm poking a bit to see the C stuff just because I can, but right now I'm a bit afraid of our massive roach bursts. But okay, so now this is like, oh my god, okay, so now this is important, and this is, okay, I think I'm doing okay. You see this Phoenix, it was gonna go home, but now, like, I'm putting this Phoenix right here. You see this patrol? It's so important. So
okay,
pretty much
so
where my Archons...
concept.
Yeah, so where my Archons on ops are not, you need to have your Phoenix patrolling. You're gonna lose, like, sometime, I don't know why, but there was a period of time when I used to always have my Phoenix with my Archon drop, so like if they're wandering with a Queen, I could lift it. Right. But this is so much more important to have the vision like this. So much more important. And also, now that I scouted Roach defense, if you can look at my base, I added the 2 gates a bit late, as I said. Now I want to start +1 on charge at the same time, always. And as soon as I have the money, I should make a robo. Here, I'm being a bit greedy, and I'm making 2 gases before the robo. It's a bit greedy, but sometimes you just do everything at once. But typically, it's having a second robo, then the 2 gas, and then 2 more gates. But
cool. Yeah. I think to touch on what you were saying, that's pretty cool because you're kind of covering all bases, right? Like on both or on most times in the game, ideally you would have had vision for any bullshit that they can pull off.
Yeah.
And that's probably more important, especially if you already decided that you did enough damage by virtue of him, you know, getting so many units early on. So right now, if you decide what I want to do is deny creep, then you don't so much need the Phoenix for that. So I really like that.
Yeah, and yeah, like the timing where where I want to scout the Zerg tech is like 6 minutes 45, 7 minutes. I'm gonna do a big shift click in the Zerg base to see what it's doing, but not right now. Right now, like I'm still afraid of like early game stuff. So yeah, so right now it's really great. You have to be careful of the queens. Yeah, Ooh. Here I got.
Nice.
Yeah. You need to be careful. I think I'm gonna push my luck a little bit here. I really like being a proper tryhard with the Warp Prism. Like, see, like
you know where the queens are as well.
Yeah. But still, I'm pushing it with 12 HP. I disrespected that queen a little bit. It's actually pretty nice by Nashor to having 4 queens like this. Like typically they only have 1 or 2, and you can contest that with the Archons every time they're not looking. But 4 is starting to be tricky.
Okay, so how are you feeling about your position right now, like in this game?
I'm feeling quite okay. On yeah, now I'm scouting the tech, and this is like one of the parts that's most important because I really need to see what's going on. On here, I'm actually gonna. I see 2 Hydra then. I'm not sure if it was a mistake or intentional, but this is actually gonna make me quite comfortable because to me, there's 2 different modes you can adopt right now as a Protoss. It's the against Baneling mode or it's the against Roach Hydra mode, which are both pretty different. But against this, right now, my plan is just to get 4 bases. Or I lose my Phoenix here, which is actually annoying, but it's already discarded. But to be honest, like if you look at my vision right now, I mean, you can't exactly see what my Phoenix are, but really often what the Korean does, like, what they do is that, for example, like look at the layer and look at like the top right of the layer. Sometimes they have a spire here, and if I don't see it, how am I ever gonna scout it? Sometimes it's really, really difficult to scout this, I guess, this point in the game, which is why this Phoenix scout is so important. But when you're in doubt and you don't really know what's going on, just build cannons everywhere. That's like safe bet. Like that's literally it. So now, right now, my 4th is a little bit late, but this 4th is so delayed that I actually don't blame myself too much. I could have taken it earlier, but like, yeah, it's okay really to take the 4th base when you're not too sure about what's happening. Like the most important is to keep your army alive, not so much to get all of the gases very fast. But
okay, so you're still thinking macro game here, or are you thinking you're gonna go for some sort of bullshit?
Right now, because I see 2 Idealists then, I'm feeling like he's gonna play very aggressively, and I know Nacho is not a very big late game guy, so my plan is just to stay here and morph a lot of Templars, because that's the main thing. Against Baneling's composition, I like to play a very dynamic game with like charge lots all over the place, a lot of Archons, maybe many gates, and I'm looking to maybe attack when I'm maxed. Against Roach Hydra, I feel like the best way to play, and it's interesting actually, is probably always to first, you don't make Archons against Roach Hydra. It's the main thing. You should make like as little Archons as you possibly can, which is what the most efficient strategy you can do is like you have a human army and you have like 5 Templar with it. Then you have like 1 Templar per base, or maybe even 2 Templar per base. And then after that, with your guys, you immediately take to Carrier. That should be what you do because Archons don't do anything against Roach Hydra when the armies are big.
They're just tanky, right? But the Immortals kind of are doing that anyway.
Yeah, like the Immortals are doing that. Like the Archons are just in the front, taking 3 shots. Like while an Archon dies, none of your army attack. It's really the main thing against Roach Hydra that you should look for. But here he's doing this weird Roach Hydra into Banelings, but I didn't got the Banelings, so.
And Banelings are, or Archons are really good against Banelings and Circles.
Yeah, that's the thing. When they make Banelings, then the dynamic change a little bit. Like, you need a lot of Archons against Baneling. It's really important.
Especially because the Storm doesn't quite kill the Banelings.
Yeah, like,
by itself.
if you need to rely on Storm to kill Banelings, that's when bad stuff happens to you. Because when you have a Zerg that's really good at microing, then you're gonna run out of Storms really fast, my friend.
All right. Love it.
Okay. So this is, like you can see, like, this pylon seems a bit weird, but it's actually, like, against the drop strats. I think it's very important. I would much rather have them kill a pylon for free than having a drop undetected.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Hearthstone was very big on the pylons everywhere as well.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that he has just 3 Watchers killing that. But yeah, this game, the 4th is a bit late, but he also didn't, like, he made a bunch of units, then I think maybe was expecting a push, because I'm a bit of an aggressive guy sometimes, but like, he's gonna make a bunch of units, then a bunch of drones. Like, it's kind of confusing. But yeah, now we have the Warp Prism here.
And you're then looking at a carrier transition eventually here.
I mean,
is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, but I'm not always gonna go for a very fast carriers, because like an effective carriers, yes, it's a carriers that it's fast. But this game, I'm just looking to get a strong maxed out army. I'm not gonna take as fast because I know that it's very aggressive, and I really doubt that, you know, like. Sometimes you get fast carriers because you don't want to die to, like, you know, Broodlords or anything like that. But I'm not too scared this game. I think if I just can get a good army.
So you think if he had maybe attacked earlier, then you would be looking for that carrier transition? If he attacked and you deflected it?
No, I would be comfortable if he attacked. Like right now, like, because if he attacks, then it means we trade, and I don't have to. Because like if you take the carriers on the attack, sometimes it's impossible to defend. So I'm not too sure that works. But yeah, pretty much right now they're like we're leaving my area of expertise right now. Like, I'm really big on the small micro stuff in the beginning, but now, like, really surely my game plan is just get a big army and try to kill him. Yeah, like, it's a very passive game, but like I don't think I need to do anything. The only thing I need to check is like the hive, but I don't really have any way to really check it. So I just have to hope it doesn't take too fast to Broodlords. But yeah, Revelation of the army is something I don't do enough. Like, it's really, really helpful.
Oh, and now you got it trapped, potentially. Oh, never mind. He pulled back.
Yeah. But yeah, right now I'm maxed out, you know, sending some Zealots all over the place, doing some stuff, checking if he can drop in the main. Yes, he's well defended. Oh, am I gonna lose my Prism? I actually don't remember. Oh yeah, I do. That sucks.
So what are you worried about now? Now that you're maxed or close to maxed, are you looking to move out soon?
Yeah. Right now I want to move out. The main reason I want to move out is because I still see Roach Hydralisk, and it's making me worried. Because typically, a Zerg that's very aggressive, he's gonna make Lurkers. And he's gonna let you know that he has Lurker. He's gonna be right up in your face with his Lurkers. Just because I only see Roach Hydra is making me kind of worried. And you know, when you have a ton of Stormers, you can kind of move out across the map. On here, this was like the absolute best case scenario where, you know, I just trap his army and kill him. But even if that didn't happen, I think I would have pushed like across the map, because as soon, like, when you have Immortal Templars and this a pretty big army, you can just move. Like, and
yeah, your army composition has just been better, right? You've been building slowly.
This is like gonna be the luckiest moment of my life.
Oh.
Don't ask me why it used the Revelation. If it was just like, oh, I don't have an ups. He must have been really, very sad.
Wow, that was insane.
But yeah, like, when you secure your 4 bases and the Zerg doesn't attack you, I feel like you should always attack him, you know? It's kind of weird like that, but if they're not attacking you, if they're doing something fishy, like maybe, because, you know, the amount of Roach Hydra he has, that could have been like a massive Mutalis transition, that could have been like a ton of Lurkers, maybe Swarmhost even.
Well, yeah, it was strange. I feel like he went for the double Hydra then. I'm not sure if on purpose or by mistake either. And then he was maybe looking for an attack, but you defended well. You had 3 cannons, went into storm fast.
The reason why I like this game and I wanted to see it, even if it's kind of me moving him, is because this is the ideal game that you always want to look for. And when I say ideal, it's not a game where I kill like 12 drones with my Archon drop and I immediately destroy, you know. It's a game where nothing really happened, but I was still like in a very, very solid position because I played everything like a bit smoother than he did.
Yeah.
And whenever like I'm in a situation, you know, where things get hectic, you should always try to go back to this game to like know what you're supposed to do. And I feel like this was like pretty smooth with everything. Like, and it's funny too. Like, like he didn't really do anything, didn't try to deny my third with Zerglings or do any kind of roach push, but it's still like the only thing that's at the top of my mind when I like build my Archons or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
I think it was difficult for him to capitalize on anything, right? Like he got the double Hydra then scouted. Maybe that made him not push. You denied the creep really nicely. That's also a deterrent for him to push. You had the cannons. He maybe scouted the stormers.
Because okay. What this game didn't have that typically happen is in every PvZ is like mid-game shenanigans, mid-game like fireworks. Because really often like there's gonna be a bunch of army movements that's like trying to break the Protoss and like whatever. And the thing that I wasn't even sure if I had a game that I would consider where I played well, because in every one of these games there's always a moment when you don't pay attention and you lose more units than you were supposed to. So even if you win the game at the end, you were like you had these moments that you clearly could have played better. But it always happens, right? Because it's so multitask intensive. So I know what you want to do, but we could look at one of these games like that if we want to play some mid-game, but I wouldn't really have anything to say, really. It's still a mystery to me, like, oh, are you exactly supposed to defend? Like, one of the things, for example, the way I split my army is that you have your entire army at the 4th base, in general. You put spotters, especially when we don't have Zerglings. Pulling Zealots, like, kind of everywhere to try to gain vision is good, but very good Zerg will deny it. And if you play against mainline composition, your third should have, like Archons and Templars, always one Archon, always. And if you're playing against Hydra, your third should have Templars and Immortals. That's the two ways I split my army, depending on what the Zerg does. But yeah, right now, to be honest, I win most of my games because of my early game is so crisp. But it's not even like that's one of the things too, is that when you play with a robo like this in the early game, it's really easy for the Zerg to play. Like, you make the game so easy for the Zerg, because literally, like, it's like, okay, it's Archon drop, I just need to spot the Archon with my Zerglings, then I make 12 Roaches, that's 4 minutes 45 or whatever, and then I go back to droning, and I will go for a locker push on 72 Walker on his third base. I literally just spelled out Elaser entire game plan for you. It's like 2 lines, but it's very, very strong, and you need to be able to deal with that. But the way I was thinking about it is that if I'm the best Archon drop in the game, then I'm always gonna find small edges that typically don't do against this Zerg. So they're gonna get surprised and they're gonna throw off. Like, so it's kind of weird, right? Because I'm doing something better than the others, by doing something entirely predictable, I'm gonna throw off their game. Sure. I don't know, it's kind of a backward reasoning, but that's how I look at it.
No, I think if there is a build for Protoss that is Archon drop. It's just it relies on how good you are, I think, to get you ahead at execution. And not all the little things that you've been iterating, right? Like, the more you do things, the more you can think about things like what am I losing to, like, and then you lose to Scarlet and you're like, well, I can get the Observer there faster, I can have the Phoenix there and I don't need it somewhere else, right? And it's like this level of detail is what will separate you, that and your ability to execute, and that you do by just doing it over and over. So I think that's a good choice of build if you wanna iterate on it.
Yeah. So yeah, right now I think I've said pretty much everything I want to say. Like, the closer you can get to this ideal game, the more you will win PvZ, pretty much.
Cool. Have you thought about doing something like that looks like Arc? Just because if this is gonna be your flagship strategy, right? Like, have you thought about doing something that looks a lot like it but plays out completely different?
Yeah. Something, for example, that you can do. It's kind of dumb, but it works very well. Is like you take the third base at the same timing and you make the robo in the wall like usual. But instead of going for an Archon drop, you go for like Immortals Adept Speed attack, and like Immortal Sentry Adept Speed. It's really dumb, but it can work. And also something that's a lot of Zerg, and this is actually quite hilarious. I had a fun talk with Anton at this point. Is that I take my third in a typical game at 450, but this is like a really fast optimized third. And when I go for like a big 6-gate or 8-gate, which I do sometimes, because when people try to squeeze as many drones as possible, that's when things like 6-gate or 8-gate can become good. But I don't think I ever do like 6-gate or 8-gate like in the loading screen. But I always do it reactionary. Like, if I see like a lot of queens, I could go for an aggressive thing. If I see a lot of Zerglings made early game, I will add a lot of gates. And what's funny is that because everybody like takes their third late because they like to warp, like I take my third with only 2 adepts. a lot of people, they like to warp, 2 zealot, then they take the third or whatever, is that I was talking with Hampton when I just did an 8 gate against him, but I still took my third at like 5 minutes. And he was like, how the fuck do you do an 8 gate with the robo in the wall on a third at 5 minutes and like a completely normal looking build? Like, where do you create your money? I was like, I don't know, dude. I just do it better than the others, I guess. Like, and if my third is not at 450, but at 505, it can be a very strong all-in. And you should be scared of that. And the truth is, Zerg don't care. Like, if they see 2 adept on a probe at the third base, and they see a robo in the wall, they're gonna think it's Archon drop and nothing more than that.
Right.
But the back.
Why adepts and not charge loads with that?
With the weird all-in, it's because for that exact kind of all-in, adepts are actually better. But it's really all-in. Like with charge loads, you actually would have a pressure, because it wouldn't be as strong, but you could macro out of it better. I don't know. It's an old all-in. I think I did it once against Lambo like 3 months ago. Like, but it's typically one of the things that only works. It's also funny. Like sometimes what happens is that I show them the third, then I do a normal Archon drop, and then I have 8 gates and I just warp continuously in my corner for like 1 minute, and my Nexus is still building, and they can only realize it like if they only scout for my Nexus. And they wait for my Nexus to be done, then they realize there's no walker in my third Nexus. They could be like, oh, it's entirely normal. Like, you would be surprised how many times I just have like 4 Archons and 20 Zealots, and they are like on 72 drones, and they have like a 4th base. It happens all the fucking time. But I don't like this kind of strats when I don't have to, because like I rely on the guy not scouting around with a Zerglings to see me warping my army in a corner.
Yeah, I think you could have triggers for them. Like if there is a game where you kill one more Overlord than you thought, or found an Overlord that was supposed to be scouting Overlord.
I used to always be like that. Like if I were to kill like 2 Overlord instead of 1, it's like, let's go, let's do the 6 gate. But that's the thing. Like, I'm talking about what you can do to make them believe, but the main thing is that the power level of 6 gates and 8 gates is very low. Like, it's not like an immortal all-in in Wing of Liberty where the Zerg needs this entirely optimized response to even stand a chance. It's like, if the Zerg even thinks that he can be attacked and make some extra units, then this suddenly becomes extremely weak, in my opinion, as far as Purge goes. Like, this really often it won't do anything.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am just
really
saying, like, it's it's an option to have if you're gonna have if you're gonna carry the flag of I'm doing Archon drop. It's easy to Yeah,
but to be honest, it's one of the sad things is that if you're gonna build a robo in the wall, which actually there's 2 maps now which you don't have to do that. There's Dreamcatcher and there's Cerulean, when you don't have to build a robo in the wall. So on this map, it's a lot easier to make them believe you're doing something else, because when you build a robo in the wall,
you're saying that Dreamcatcher and Cerulean because they're short enough, or why?
No, Dreamcatcher and Cerulean, you don't have to build the robo in the wall because you can wall with like 1 pylon on 2 buildings.
Okay.
So you don't have to build the robo in the wall.
Gotcha.
And because right now, Archon drop, if you want a good Archon drop, you need robo in the wall, pretty much.
So the robo in the wall is to spend your money at that point in time rather than for the War Prism to be faster.
Yeah, because if you don't make the robo in the wall, if you make it outside, then like either you're a complete madman, you make it in your main, and then like incredibly much later, you make a gateway, so you have like a wide open wall for like 1 minute while Springling is out, or then you make a gate, then you make a robo. But that delays your robo by quite a bit, and then the War Prism has to travel a greater distance, and then your Immortal gets stuck behind your wall.
Why the robo and not the starport then? The Stargate?
Because mainly the starport you don't want to, because then what happens is that when they check with the first Overlord, and they see the starport in the wall, they just go home with the first Overlord. Because they can see what units you're making with their Zerglings. And that's like, that's not good.
Okay.
Like, you can make the Stargate in the wall, but then you're giving up on like 1 Overlord of damage.
Can they pull back the Overlord though?
Yes, 100%. Like, because literally your Stargate is in the wall, so like.
So as soon as it starts, they just.
Yeah, as soon as it starts, the Overlord goes home. Like, Overlords are not that slow.
All right. Well, this was a great game and a fun episode. If anyone has any questions for Drogo in chat, ask away.
Oh my gosh. Man, these 45 minutes flew by. I was like, man, maybe it's too short of a game or whatever, but it's actually already been 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Someone said their PVC just went up by 20% watching this. Oh, even Gemini is in the chat, man. What is that?
Yeah, that's some proper, like, all of the details are like some proper triad bullshit. Like, I don't have anywhere the level of details when I play PvT, for example. PvT, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And at the very least, PvZ is nice like that. It fits my playstyle more, that I can just do the same thing all the time.
Here's a pretty good question. You said that Archon Drop isn't good against straight Hydras. What would you do instead? What variation?
Yes, that's actually a good question. I have a game like that I play against it. We can go really quick. But pretty much, when I say that you need to scout with the Phoenix, if they're making a fast layer, really often, they're going to make the Hydralisk den next to the main hatchery, so that if there's an aggressing thing, they can tuck the Hydralisk on queens in that small thing, So very often the Hydralisk den is going to be easy to spot. And when I spot it, I always go Storm Drop.
Cool.
Or at the very least something else, an Archon Drop, because I believe that the Hydralisk Baneling push that was, standardized by Scarlet is like extremely, like, I think if both people play properly, I play Archon Drop, and they play like the optimized Hydralisk Bane, I will always die. I don't think you can hold it. I don't think it's possible. And I think this is backed up by, for example, when you watch Classic against Scarlet, Classic went for like a lot of adepts, only went for Storm Drop. But he was really scared of the Hydralisk push. Never went for Archon Drop. Just went for like, unless he was very sure it wasn't Hydralisk. But like only went for like anti-Hydra builds.
And Storm Drop should be a pretty easy transition to go into.
Yeah,
pretty similar.
Like Storm Drop. The bad thing about Storm Drop is that if the Zuggs is feeling greedy, you are never going to catch them. Like they're going to be quite ahead in economy, but the Storm Drop on most maps is going to do a bunch of damage, and your army is very good, very fast. What you lose in economy, you gain Templar energy. Your Templars are all going to have 2 storms extremely fast. I have a game against Snu that I played in
at the same time,
Clash
it's difficult for Cirque to tell, right? Like if you're going for Storm or Archon.
Yeah, it's difficult for him to tell, but like, what the fuck is going on? What is he doing? You're going to go for a Storm push, would be really good behind it. But yeah, I think going for Storm directly is much better than you can go Archon Drop against people that just don't push after Hydralisk, but like, damn, it just feels shitty. Because also it feels shitty because it's much harder to tell if you're getting all in or not.
I would have thought the defense is stronger as well with Hydras. Like you can't really harass much, right? Like your war person should be at a greater risk.
Like you can't harass much, but it's like Hydralisks are expensive, right? Sure. Like with Roachers, you can literally go like 62 drone Roachers, and with like 2 spores in the main to delay that, and you're fine. With Hydralisk, you need to make them faster. But what I want to say, it's really harder to tell if an all-in is happening, because obviously they shoot air. So the Phoenix can't really go around quite just freely to spot if you're making units. If you're making an Overseer, they're going to kill your ops immediately with the initial Hydralisk. And then the Archon can't really fly around. So all of these spotters, the Ops, the Phoenix, where if I see Watchers move across the map, then I know it's an all-in. Against Hydralisk, I don't really have that. So when I was playing Archon Drop against Hydralisk, I was always scared of being all-in, even when I didn't need to be. I'll never say that I started playing Storm Drop, even if I'm giving up economy, I feel so much, it's a lot more comfortable to play for me. Okay. So I'm a big fan of Storm Drop against Hydralisk.
Awesome. What do you do versus the Hydra Bane all-in at 53 drones? I think Scarlet did it to you once. Yeah,
that's pretty much like what I talked about. I like to go Storm Drop, and when you go Storm Drop, you already have Stormers when these come out. And it's so much easier when you have like Stormers already there. You just need to make unit with Storms and you're good to go. Okay,
kind of touched on this already, but if is there anything to add to why you would consider straight Hydras good versus Archon Drop?
Is it? I just think it's different. Like I'm not quite sure if it's that good. I mean, because like if you're feeling comfortable like playing, like I actually don't play it that much. Like the Storm Drop against the Hydralisk. I don't play that many games in Europe. There's not that many people that play Hydralisk anymore. I know that Rainer does it sometime. Bly does it too.
So your main thing is that you feel that the Hydra Bane push that would follow is just kills you.
That's the main thing. If for some reason I know 100% that people just won't be aggressive with initial Hydralisk, I think playing Archon Drop would be fine.
Okay.
Like maybe if the map is very big, like if it's Parasites, maybe you can just play Archon Drop. But even then,
or if you can solve the push somehow, right? Like
yes. So if I was finding a magic solution, if tomorrow you come up to me, actually you can hold it if you do this and that, I would be like, oh okay. then I will go back to Archon Drop.
Cool. Does he just camera location hotkey to the base and then box select the Templar he leaves at the expansions, or is there's some sort of hotkey configuration?
Okay, both actually. Typically, in a multitask game, I'm actually different compared to the other producers. A lot of producers have their army on the Templar on 2 different hotkey. I think this is only important when you play against Baneling on this one big fight happening, because obviously you want to very easily be able to pull back the Templar, whatever. But really often, I find myself thinking that, hey, you're using this different hotkey, but then you're getting overrun by the multitask of the Zerg. So what I do is that I have my Templars with my main army in my main army control group. And ever since they implemented, the auto attack for the Templars against PtitDrogo, this is actually the best way to play the Templars. Like, it's so much more consistent. I know me and Nib, we're the 2 players that do it. Like, the Templars always in the main army control group. So because I have everything on one, I allow myself, because typically, the Zerg do 2 attacks at the same time. So then I allow myself to have like my 3 hotkey for the second army to like defend, the third or whatever. So typically, when I have my entire army on the 4th and a Templar on the 3rd base, that Templar on like the 1 Archon or the 1 Immortal with it will be hotkeyed. So for that, it's true. But really often, if for some reason I have Phoenixes or I want to hotkey something else, then I'm just gonna use camera hotkey and then select my Templar. If you just make sure to put your Templar like not in the front but like back behind the Nexus, there shouldn't be any problem. Like, you don't need to be fast as lightning to storm stuff, except when it's Baneling.
Mm-hmm.
So with Baneling, you need the Archons hotkeyed. It's very important.
Okay, so that's a cool answer, because maybe if you can account for the flaws in that, right? Like, for example, here you have a pretty good setup at the 3rd against Banelings with those 3 cannons. It's very difficult for Banelings to ever get to your minor line.
Yeah, but also, if I was playing Baneling, I don't think I would build the 3 cannons like that.
They would all die to the Banelings.
I think I would space them out.
Mm-hmm. They're a little clumped up, or put gateways in front or something.
Yeah, maybe. Like typically gateway wall are bad, because if they go for like a locker push, you're just gonna lose production for free.
Okay.
So you need to then confirm, okay, it's Baneling, so now I'm gonna build a wall. But in general, you don't do it with gates, you do it with pylons or cannons. I don't know. It's very hard to just add 2 gates. You need to. I mean, yeah, it would be good to do. Like, it's not something I actively do, because the current map pool have weird 3rd base to wall like that. But
what about your 4th then? Is that a good setup against Banelings, you would say?
Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, like right now, since I'm playing with PtitDrogo, the cannons should not be like this, but whatever. Like, I think I was feeling too confident. This is not technically the best setup of cannons in my 4th against PtitDrogo right now.
Mm-hmm.
But against
Banelings it would be good.
Against Baneling it would be fine, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see if there's any more questions here. If you were to play versus a Link Queen or +1 melee defense, would you get an earlier storm and delay the second robo?
Delay the second robo 100%. Even in general, against an Hydra defense, if I see he's going into Baneling, I also would not make a second robo. In general, if I'm playing against like Hydra being Link Bane, I always want 1 robo. Then it's another thing. It's actually a funny story. I used to think that Link Bane Queen, or just Link Queen, was extremely broken against Archon Drop, because you could just, defend with Link on Queens, and you had that very fast +1, and you were just in a super good situation. Mm-hmm. So I would really, back then it was a lot more popular, so I would go for 6 gate a lot more, especially in Korea, when I was in Korea. And the thing is that when you go 6 or 8 gates, it's very hard for the Zerg to defend, but I found that sometimes they would defend. Like, sometimes they would defend fine, or like I would fuck up and I wouldn't be in a good position. And what I discovered is that if you go Archon Drop and they go for Link Queen defense, you can actually not make Storm, take a 4th base, go like 11 gates, and go like for a multi-prong. It depends on the map. For example, on this map, actually on this map it will be alright, but a map where it's very good is Dreamcatcher. Picture this. Zerg is top left, Protoss is bottom right, and I see a Link Queen defense. I just make a ton of Archon, 11 gates, some Immortals, and I make 10 Zealots that I shift-click to the 3rd, to the 4th base. I shift-click them like at the bottom of the base to go to the 4th of the Zerg. You know where the 4th is, if it's top left. So on the same time, I have a Warp Prism coming in the main. It's a very open main, so we'll always be able to warp in. And at the same time, my army pushes the 3rd. Why is it good? is because they're relying on Zergling on Banelings mainly, and they have +1 attack. So they're a bit like they're gonna get Hydralisk, but when you're attacking, they're not gonna have that many Hydralisk. So this kind of multi-prong in the situation is extremely good. And the Classic does that too. That's when you play against Link Bane defense, really often you don't need to rush Storm that fast. You can just be a little bit aggressive.
Why is multi-prong then good against Lynx?
It's good against Link because Zealot with +1 are very effective on micro against Zerglings pretty much. And like if they have Banelings and they have one fight, it's very easy for them to like fight all of the clumped up Zealots, you know?
Right.
But if you can spread the Zealot in 3 different locations, it's a lot harder for the Zerg to have cost-effective trade, which is not true. For example, if you have Roach Hydra, and I have all of my army in 3 different spots, they just send Roaches on Hydra in 3 different spots, and they clean them up super easy. But against Zergling on Banelings, it's really easy for the Protoss to take good trades like that.
Just look for chokes.
Yeah. Or just even like sometimes you just overrun them. Like you need too much army. So, and I think actually Stats kind of tried it against Serral on this map. Like he went for a push at the 4th base, but then Serral like had a perfect answer, and like Serral was completely Stats was completely clumped up. Then he didn't want to commit, so he just pulled back. Then eventually he lost the game. But Stats also tried it, so it seems to be the norm. And now I think that Link Win is a lot less popular than before. I'm not quite sure actually why, but maybe that's why the currents don't do it as much, because they realize that it's just like you have a super good mid game because your +2 is so damn fast, but it makes you vulnerable to like a lot of things like 6 gates, 8 gates, or just what I just described. So I think you have a lot of tools as Protoss to deal with that.
Cool. Someone asked, how do you use your Chronos in the mid game? Do you Chronos probes upgrades and immortals, or probes?
Okay, in PvC you actually almost never Chrono probe. Like you Chrono probe until your first Stargate unit, and once you Chrono boost your first Phoenix, you are never going to Chrono probes ever again. It's always immortals. It's always upgrades, then immortals. Always.
Okay. If you can hide the 8-gate version so well with the Robo and the WoW, why doesn't he play it more often? I feel like we already touched on this.
Yeah, because pretty much, just to precise a little bit, if the Zerg doesn't make a lot of Zerglings and just makes a bunch of Roaches, I think any kind of deep aggression is pretty bad. So like it's funny, like 2 days ago on stream I played against Scarlet, and she didn't show me a lot of Zerglings, but I thought she was going to make a lot of Zerglings because she often does that. So I went for 8-gate, and she literally made 72 drones, then Roaches. And that like my push worked like a charm, but it's literally the only game I won. After that, I was like, okay, I'm playing a bit safer, and she won every game. Oof. So I don't know. It's like I really like right now that I can just go into a macro game and feel like I can win it. Because when you start learning too much, then there's like this attention that you can only when you fall in that creeps up on you a little bit. And it's something I used to be way too into. So now I chill a little bit with that. If I play like if you were telling me that I was playing like I don't know Rainer in like 2 weeks and I could like study all of his builds, then I found that he was a bit weak in that regard, then maybe I would go for that. But in like a random Zerg, I'm playing a random Zerg barcode, I'm not doing it 6-8
It sounds like you're in the process of improving in a certain direction, right? Because you're like basically saying, okay, like I know where I'm good at, but as the game progresses, you're not as comfortable. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Like I'm just, you know, I just want to be confident with Archon Drop, and that's like a never-ending mission.
But I'd say I mean, you know, and have got into a lot of detail already. So it is a never-ending mission, but I feel like you can continue to make progress into the later game and whatnot.
You can do, okay, actually, like Varian is asking the question, but I'm not expand on that. You can do reactionary 6-8-gate Archon drops. If so, what will be the trigger? It's actually something funny because when I stream, I actually 6-gate or 8-gate a lot. But it's just like, when you play Zerg that are not like super high MMR, and they just make a bunch of Zerglings, almost always I'm gonna 8-gateways. Like, almost always. It's something that's pretty basic. Like, when you try to move out with your 2 adepts on Oracle, and you see like a bunch of Zerglings, just because you know that even if you don't spend your money, you're gonna like be at like 900 minerals before you take your third. Like if you wait for the Oracle to come back, for example. So just adding 2 gates, and then if you have the opportunity to, you whop more Zealots. It's something that's really good. So like I don't think there's really anything else that I can think of. It's just if you make Zerglings, add more gates. That's pretty much it.
Perfect. So let's do one last question. When you decide to do a career transition, how many Stargates do you make? Also, do you ever build a mothership in PvC since it's so expensive?
To be honest, I'm not the best guy to ask about Carriers transition. Like right now, the only map where I really do that is Parasite, because it's such a big map. I feel like it's very easy to get up to a nice carrier count. I'd say, like, to be honest, if it does that you ask that, we'll just answer you like when you feel safe, but that's not much of an answer. I think in general, that's, when I said that I will always mention carriers when I'm not playing against banelings, because against baneling I like to push. So, when I say that, okay, against Rechargalisk, you need like an army with like 4 or 5 Templars, then like 2 Templars at your 4th, and maybe 1 more Templar shooting at the 3rd. When you have the count of Templar you're comfortable with, then you should start doing a carrier transition.
So when you feel safe.
Yeah, like so pretty much. Like you could say to your head, okay, after you have 8 Templars, then I'm going to be making carriers, because any more gas that you spend into more Templars is going to be pretty much useless, because at some point, the Storm doesn't stack. And if you make Archons, these Archons are going to be bad against the Chydra. So just in your games, pick a number of Templars that you think is good enough to defend you on all fronts. And then after you make this many Templars, boom, you start the carrier transition. I think it will be the answer most adapted to everybody. And about the mothership, I think if you can afford it, it's great. I'm not quite sure where I stand on if you only have the money to make a mothership of 3 carriers, what do you do? I think if I'm being very attacked a lot, I think I'm making a mothership, but I'm not quite sure. Like, I mean, this situation's so little that I actually don't know. In general, when I
are so good, dude. Just
yeah, I know Zags are winning about it so much that I feel like the mothership is probably a better call.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Theo, for being on the show. I will be putting this on YouTube if there's any shout-outs or anything else.
I mean, shout out to my team, Iron Chain Gaming. Quite a nice team. This guy have been very good to me, and if you could give him a quick follow. And I don't know, shout out to the Blizzard team for actually putting in the slight reversal of the Void Ray nerf. That made me very happy. No, the Void Ray are not gonna be slow as shit, only a little slow. And that makes me feel very happy.
Awesome.